Hi everyone, I'm Claire Saffitz. Welcome to my home kitchen. Today I'm showing you a recipe for the greatest ice cream flavor in the world, which is coffee Oreo. Debate me in the comments. When I started talking about coffee Oreo, Vince was like, well, you get a scoop of Oreo ice cream, you get a scoop of coffee. No, that's not what it is. It is one flavor that is coffee ice cream with Oreos in it. I had never ever heard of this flavor. It's like growing up, we went to Baskin Robbins. This was like not one of the 32 flavors. But when my parents moved to the Boston area 20 years ago, Massachusetts, like crazy into ice cream. And then we'd go to Cape Cod and like in the summer go to ice cream places. And this is where I first learned about coffee Oreo. It was a flavor that we saw everywhere. And it was like, this is the greatest ice cream flavor of all time. And it's the texture, it's the flavor. Coffee is one of my favorite dessert ingredients because it's bitter and very flavorful and pairs so well with sweet flavors and dairy. It's like meant to be, this ice cream flavor. It's just so good. When you're making coffee ice cream, you can't just add a cup of brewed coffee to your ice cream base because you're adding so much water. So the strategy has to involve adding like a very, very concentrated coffee. And so we're gonna talk about how to do that. And today I'm gonna use Cometeer. Ingredients. So this is a variation on my go-to ice cream base. I have here 2 cups of heavy cream. I have 3/4 of a cup of milk, so I'm decreasing the amount of milk slightly to compensate because I'm going to add some coffee to it. 5 yolks. And I make a custard base. I do a creme anglaise, basically, base for my ice cream. Then I'm adding some sugar. It's 3/4 of a cup. This is a kind of an optional ingredient. I feel like it's the kind of thing where if you already have it, add it. If you don't, it's fine. It's not worth buying it separate, but this is some dry milk powder. It helps to enhance texture. It gives you like a smoother result. A big pinch of kosher salt. I'm using vanilla paste. I just love seeing the little specks in the ice cream. That's important to me. And then 6 ounces of Oreos. You could use any Oreo type cookie. For the coffee flavor, I'm using Cometeer. And Cometeer works with some of the best coffee roasters around the world and has a special brewing method that's then flash frozen and it comes to your house frozen in these recyclable pods. The flavor is very, very intense. So it's perfect application in a coffee ice cream like this where I want lots of coffee flavor but not a lot of liquid. This one is from Winslow Coffee Company in Massachusetts, fitting for our coffee Oreo ice cream. So special equipment, really basic. I have my saucepan because we have to cook the custard, cook the base, and make sure the eggs are cooked. I like to temp it, so I have an instant read thermometer just so I know that I've hit that temperature for where the eggs are cooked. And then like a strainer to strain the base. And of course, the main thing you'll need is a ice cream maker. So you can use the kind that like you freeze the insert. So if you're gonna make this, make sure you're freezing it 24 hours in advance. I have this really fancy one that I got a couple years ago that has like a self-cooling. So you just plug it in and go. My love of coffee, like cold coffee desserts is well documented on the channel. We have a coffee granita episode, delicious, so easy. We have a coffee stracciatella semifreddo, no churn, delicious. But truly, I think the queen of all coffee cold desserts is coffee ice cream. And that's what we're gonna make. Before I get into the recipe, I want to thank our friends at Cometeer for sponsoring this episode. Everyone here knows I love my cup of coffee. 1 in the morning, maybe 1 in the afternoon is a little treat. And I love Cometeer because they work with the best independent roasters from around the country and they make coffee that is flash frozen in aluminum pods. They ship right to your house. The pods can go into your curbside recycling. But beyond just the convenience factor, I love the quality of the coffee. You can have it any way you like, no machine required. So sometimes in the morning I'm in the mood for something iced, like today, you pour a little milk over it, you make a latte, or you can have it hot in the morning by adding hot water. And I love that you can go on and select by flavor profile. So the folks at Cometeer sent me some ones based on what I like, which is like a really nicely roasted coffee that has notes of caramel and chocolate. Delish. So we're gonna do our coffee Oreo ice cream served affogato style with a little more Cometeer poured over top, and it's going to be so good. So I wanna say thanks to Cometeer for sponsoring the episode. If you wanna learn more about Cometeer and all the different coffees they have and save on your order, go to the link in the description below. And now back to the recipe. The first thing I'm going to do is get my dairy into my saucepan, and we're gonna bring it up to a simmer, so I'm just gonna put it on medium. And this is 2 cups of heavy cream. And this base that I described, the like 2 cups of cream, 1 cup milk, although in this case I decreased that milk quantity slightly. But this is my go-to base for like most flavors. It's that proportion of 2 cups cream, 1 cup milk, thereabouts, and 5 yolks that I think is like spot on. And anywhere between a half and 3/4 of a cup of sugar, depending on your flavor. So that's the milk. And like I said, I decreased the milk slightly because we are going to be adding liquid in the form of very, very, very strong coffee. I'm going to add to my saucepan a portion of the sugar. You can really eyeball it. Let's call it like, around half or even 2/3. So we want to dissolve some of the sugar that way. And then we're going to reserve some of it for whisking our yolks. I'm going to also add my salt. Just a big pinch of salt is there to bring out the flavor, and my powdered milk. Now I'm going to add to this a teaspoon of vanilla paste. That part's eyeballed. So I'm just going to whisk this. I want to encourage that sugar to dissolve. And then while that's heating up, I'm going to combine my eggs and the remaining sugar.
If you had to get one of your recipes on a tombstone, which would it be?
I'm feeling really, really smug about that sheet pan tart tatin these days. I just think it's innovative. I really do. Oh my God. Woo, how much did I lose? I'm talking about how amazing I am.
Probably about half of
I'm talking
it.
about how amazing I am, and then did I lose half? No, I did not lose half of it. I lost like 3 tablespoons. I got distracted talking about how amazing I am. And look, that was karma in real time. Don't you think?
I think you just weren't paying attention.
No, I wasn't. I was singing my own praises. I was patting myself on the back. Hold on, let's just get cleaned up here. What was I talking about? All right, let's get this back.
Sheet pan tartine is your greatest creation.
Yeah.
That you were going to have it engraved on your tombstone.
Yeah, that one I'm feeling good about at the moment. I don't know, I have to think about it. But the grasshopper pie stands out because that was such good mint chip ice cream. Okay, let's get this back nearly at a simmer. All right, we're gonna whisk together our yolks and the remaining sugar. I'm gonna add that together. This is the basic method for any type of custard. So this step is called blanching, where I'm mixing the eggs and the sugar. So you wanna whisk this until it's a little bit pale. There's not so much sugar here, so you're not gonna have this really dramatic lightning effect that you get in some recipes. So we're gonna take our hot dairy base and slowly whisk about like 2/3 of it into the yolks. This is a gentle method of increasing the egg temp where you're not shocking them and the risk of like overcooking them. Am I spilling?
All into the control unit.
Okay. Perfect. Now everything goes back, whisk this whole mixture back into the saucepan. And I'm going to scrape all of it back in. Okay. So now we want to whisk this constantly until the eggs are cooked, and that's going to create this thickening effect in the custard. So I want to cook this until it's around 170. I have a feeling it's pretty close because of just the texture that it is now. Oh, I'm at 171. I'm cooked. I'm done. So let's get this off the heat. And now I'm going to add my coffee. And the reason I'm adding it now is I don't really want to cook the coffee into the base. I want that flavor to be as kind of like fresh as possible. And what's great about using Cometeer is it comes frozen. The coffee in these capsules is designed to be diluted. So you add water to it to enjoy it. And it comes in these like, nice tiny little capsules that are recyclable. What's great about that is because there is so much flavor in these small capsules, I don't have to add a lot of liquid, which is what I want. It's like you don't really want to add a lot of liquid to an ice cream base because you don't want a lot of water that's going to form ice crystals and make an ice cream that's not smooth. So I also need to cool the base down. So by adding like basically the frozen capsules to the base, it helps me to cool it down. I'm going to add 3 of them. So I'm just going to rinse them under a little bit of water to loosen the capsule. So just a little bit of, that was, barely warm water, just to thaw the outer layer. These are going to go right in. So all in, this is adding around 5 tablespoons of liquid. So that's why I had decreased the milk quantity a little bit, and it gives it a really beautiful color. So if you're making this at home and you're not using the Cometeer coffee, which has, it comes in these small capsules with really, really intense flavor, use espresso. You could even beef up your espresso flavor with a little bit of powdered espresso, but just know that the quality of the coffee that you're adding is going to determine the quality of your final ice cream. So now what we want to do with our base is strain it, and that's because often what happens is you get like little bits of egg that didn't really dissolve into your custard, whether they got overcooked or whether it was just like that little weird part of the yolk that doesn't quite like break up with everything else. So I want to strain it because this is going to make our finished ice cream smoother.
Good color.
The color is nice, right? And this base recipe makes about a quart total volume, and that's about the capacity of your average like at-home ice cream maker, so it works out well. I just want to scrape in those little vanilla seeds. Hold on. A little less than a quart because I spilled, so it's fine. So now, under normal circumstances, this just goes into the fridge and it chills. Really, ideally, it chills overnight. You want the base to be very, very cold before you put it in the ice cream machine. This one I want to spin kind of right away or as soon as possible. So I'm gonna stir it over an ice bath to get it cold, and then we're gonna spin it. So I'm just gonna rush that process along a little bit. So for my ice bath, I have a bowl here. I'm gonna add cold water to the ice. You only want to fill the bowl like a third of the way because of the displacement. And the bowl that I'm using inside the ice bath, I always use metal because it's going to have faster heat transfer. So it's going to cool down faster. And then pour in our base. Get all those vanilla seeds in there. This is just stirring, and that's to keep the mixture moving so that new base is coming into contact with the cold bowl underneath. So I'm just going to stir this until it's cool to the touch. I'll probably refrigerate it briefly while my ice cream machine cools down, but then we're just going to go right into spinning the ice cream. I have my base that's just keeping cold in the fridge. I'm going to just break up my Oreo pieces. This is 6 ounces of Oreos, and I have thought probably more than the average person about ice cream mix-ins and like what makes it good or not good. And I think cookie, like hydrated cookie, is one of the most just like pleasing textures, and I love it so much. So I add the cookie pieces toward the end of the churning process while the ice cream is like frozen but not fully set. And that helps to encourage some hydration of the pieces. It's like when you go to scoop it, you don't hit a hard piece of cookie that then has to like get dug out. It kind of just cuts right through, and that's what I like best. I'm not turning them into crumbs. I'm just breaking them into pieces, and the churning of the ice cream kind of further breaks it up because I like that different size. I like when it's different sizes. I want some like larger pieces and some smaller pieces. So this is 6 ounces. I'm gonna add most of it into the ice cream toward the end of churning, and then I'll save a couple pieces for sprinkling on top because then it's actually kind of nice to get like a piece that might be a little crunchy and then the rest are kind of soft. I forgot how many pieces 6 ounces is. I think it's probably around 15 cookies or so. So I'm gonna set these aside and let's get the ice cream spinning. I just pour this in. This is gonna spin for a good 20 minutes, I think. It's only when it's like 90% of the way there that I'll add the Oreos. I have a cake pan, a metal pan, that I just froze because I like to have the ice cream hit something cold so it doesn't immediately start to melt when I get it in the freezer. So I'm gonna scrape it into the pan, top it with the Oreos, and it needs to freeze solid. I have a batch that I made last night, so we can pull that out and taste it after it's fully set. Metal is good because you want it to be able to get cold and maintain that temp. Oh yeah, this is such a nice texture. And I love how the crumbs have really broken down, but are still in larger pieces in some places. This is really the ideal. It has that stretch that like really good ice cream or gelato has, which I love. And the best part is that you can leave, it's like, oh, I scraped it as best I can, but then really you leave some in the ice cream maker so that you can taste it. So then we're just going to spread this out. Sprinkle those last Oreo pieces over top. I need to kind of press them down in. And then this just has to freeze solid. And I'm gonna pull out the one I made last night. I'll cover it right now because I'm gonna pull this one out. It's like, did someone come in last night and take a little piece of that ice cream out of the corner? Yes, and it wasn't me. So I'm gonna get cleaned up, and this is going to temper a little bit because it is frozen solid. So I'm gonna let it warm up slightly, and then we're gonna scoop it and taste it. And I decided that in the spirit of this being the greatest ice cream flavor ever created, we're gonna serve it avocado style. Really play up the coffee. So I'm gonna grab some more Cometeer and a serving bowl and my scoop. So I have my thawed Cometeer right here. My ice cream has tempered. It's getting like a little melted around the edge, which is perfect. And then I have a little bit of milk because one thing Harris does is, like, if he's eating ice cream, sometimes he likes to pour a little cold milk on top to dilute some of the sweetness, and then it kind of gets like a milkshake texture. So I might do like a little coffee milk pour over in the spirit of avocado. All right, so I have my scoop and my serving glass. Oh my gosh, I maybe even let it temper a little too much. This is such a nice texture. How did this melt? This wasn't even out for that long. I guess it's just a nice ice cream texture. Oops. God.
It fits the episode.
And then maybe just like a little pour over. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to eat this. And then I love that coffee at the end because the ice cream is kind of perfectly sweet, but then having that extra bitter shot of coffee on top is like so perfect. All right, anyone in the comments below who was like, this is not the best flavor of ice cream is wrong. Oh my gosh. Ooh. If you're not as big a coffee lover as I am, make it. You can skip the coffee pour over, but like, it's so perfectly balanced. Bitter, intense, aromatic, creamy, sweet enough. And then the Oreo is like, it's not like the Oreo is adding a lot of flavor. You do get some of that cocoa, but the texture, the kind of soft, hydrated crumbs and like occasional crunch from a bigger piece is so satisfying. And then if you let it melt a little, you do kind of get coffee milkshake. This is the kind of thing that makes me want to keep my ice cream maker out all the time, because to me, the hardest thing about making ice cream is just getting the machine out and getting it ready. And I don't want to have a barrier to making this a lot more times because it is so good and really, truly easy. Like, the ice cream maker does all the work. You cook a custard, add some coffee to it. I used Cometeer. You can use espresso at home. If you don't have an espresso maker, I would go to your favorite coffee place and have them brew you a couple shots of espresso and just take it home and stick it in the fridge and use that. And the rest of it is super easy. So I really hope you try it. I want to thank our friends at Cometeer for sponsoring this episode. If you want to learn more and save on your order, you can go to the link in the description below. So I want to thank Cometeer for sponsoring and for making such great coffee that you can have ready in an instant at home. I love drinking it, and I also really love using it in baking, especially coffee ice cream. So I want to say thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.